Okay, so it's the Friday after competing on Sunday in the NPA Mike Williams Classic. This was my first show last year, and coming into this year, I'd say that I was probably just as nervous as I was for that one. Yeah, last year I remember being terrified about 5 days before. Couldn't sleep. Every waking moment was spent wondering if I was going to get laughed off stage. But I think more than that, it's that I set out to do my best at it. And I think when you set out to do your best at it, it doesn't really matter what happens in relation to other people. It's knowing that you're going to see pictures of what your best effort looks like. And that was the same thing this year. I'd already competed 3 times this year. I'd done the NPA Midlands, gone against one of the greatest lightweights in the country, in Carlos Acker. I'd done the NPA South East show, gone against Ridge. It looked incredible. Very, very good bodybuilder. Then I'd done the UK DFBA. Again, amazing show. Plam and Handorov who placed first. Hard as granite, just inspirationally conditioned, sharp. Helder Barroso in second, who again, probably one of the most aesthetic bodybuilders I've ever seen. Incredible bodybuilder. Third place, Giorgio Ferios. Again, another man who gets himself so unbelievably just ripped and conditioned and razor sharp. I'd say all of those shows inspired me, but I knew throughout all those shows that with each one it was part of an evolution. I knew that I would not be sharp as I needed to be for the first one or the second one or the third one, but knowing that I'd be stepping on stage less than my best and seeing what that looked like allowed me to keep pushing further and further and further till what I thought was my best at the Mike Williams that I've just done. Travelled up there with Dean, a good friend of mine. Nice chap as well. Watched the first half of the show, enjoyed it a lot. Again, felt nervous, but seeing John Bibb take the Masters class. People in the British natural bodybuilding scene will be familiar with John Bibb, but he's a really friendly, humble guy, and he got himself into razor sharp condition. His shape's a lot like mine. He's got huge quads, wide shoulder, but a lighter build. And to see him bring his very best and stand amongst what was a really tough lightweight class, I think that was probably the highlight of the show for me, along with the novice class that I got to see. A good friend of mine, Carl Nathan Haig, who I competed with last year at the Mike Williams Classic. I placed third in novices, he placed fifth. Again, he improved himself tremendously. I went up to Yorkshire to watch him compete as well, and he was good in Yorkshire. He was sharp, but he was a lot sharper here. A lot sharper. He keeps on improving. And as I was watching a novice class, I saw a young lad called Christopher Allen. Now I've talked to Chris a few times in the lead up, and again he reminded me a lot of how I felt before I did my show. He was very scared and very nervous. Again, not placing, but I think that when you ask so much of yourself, you want to see what that looks like, and you know that how that looks will reflect on what you're capable of in the future. And he looked fantastic. Some bodybuilders have an energy when they're on stage. They have a tremendous feeling of just positive, strong charisma, and your eyes are pulled to them. I know, even though he's the smallest in the class and the lightest, he really was. He stole the show for me, far ahead of the Jap who placed second, and the chap in first. He was excellent as well, but there's certain star power that I see in Chris that I think he'll go on to do really good things in time. So anyway, Sat watching the show, and then during the interval I went backstage with Dean. Could see all the people that I'd be competing with. Richard McWilliam, excellent quality bodybuilder. His back especially is very, very strong. He'd competed the week before at the UKDFBA, which is the British version of WNBF. He placed fifth in the fourth. Yes, he placed fourth in the lightweight class, which was 75 kilos and below, if I remember right. Well, I competed in the bantamweights and placed fourth behind Berrios, Barroso, and Handarov. So coming into it, I knew that he'd be exceptional, and he was. He was a lot crisper here as well. Nigel Wilkie was in my class. This was only his second show. He'd done the UK BFF Midlands, I believe, in classic class as well. And this was his first step into an actual natural show. And again, he looked very good. He'd obviously worked really hard. The chap who took my class was backstage. Enormous chest and shoulders, really big, really big. Not razor sharp, but just overwhelmingly big in his upper body. I believe Keith O'Connell as well, who placed third at the Yorkshires in lightweight. He was backstage. Now, anybody who gets backstage knows that as soon as you start stripping down under those lights, it's a moment of truth. There's a moment of clarity where you know that every time you weren't dedicated, every time you said, "Oh, I'll have this little bit here, I'll have this little chocolate biscuit, or I'll have a beer," it's all there. You can see it in a man's face if he's dieted hard or not, just by how he looks at himself in the mirror, whether it's with pride or with disappointment. So when I stripped down, I felt very good. I felt this was the best I brought. And I had a flashback to doing exactly the same thing the year before with Steve Howe and John Clark teaching me how to pose. And I knew that the entire year of work had been worth it. So we tanned up, took in some carbohydrates, not many, nothing's going to change when you're at that point. Went out to stage. I believe I was the sharpest in the class. The chap who won was bigger, and Richard McWilliams was bigger, but I do believe I was the sharpest there. It's not all about condition, but I do believe it plays a big role. It shows how hard you've worked when you show your condition on stage. Enjoyed it. It was amazing. My routine, the people in the audience, just everything about it was excellent. I had a good friend of mine, Joe Lyon, there with me as well. Joe Lyon's the British Junior champion. Again, he's an incredible bodybuilder. He really is. Such thickness and density. But it's not just that, it's his personality as well. He's incredibly dedicated. He's got a great hunger for knowledge, and he'll take a piece of knowledge and he'll use and adapt it. You can see his journal on naturalmuscle.com, and it is www.naturalmuscle.co.uk, and it really is. It shows the attitude and personality of a champion. So yep, came off stage, placed second. I was happy with that. They went for his size over my condition and balance. But again, he's an excellent bodybuilder, 4 years older. And in 4 years' time, I would hope to be in the same spot as he is. So now, on to the British finals. Got 15, 16 days. My weight, 69.5 kilos at the moment. Feeling ready. Gonna push as hard as I can. Gonna give my all. Gonna stand on stage as one of Britain's leading lightweights. Well, I haven't qualified for the British finals in my first year, which I'm incredibly proud of. Yeah, time to bring it. I'll do a couple more segments. A lot of people ask me about my diet, so I want to go for my diet. My training, don't know how much you can learn from that. Somebody who's 69 kilos at 5'9", somebody's getting something wrong somewhere. But I'm quite happy to go over it. And the active dieting, because contest dieting is just dieting, there's nothing complicated about it. Supplementation, just a couple of sections, and that should break me in slowly so I don't feel so nervous. Okay, on to the finals.